Dennison. Whedon. Bianski. Money.
Present.
Swem. You have a quorum.
You have to make a motion to approve the agenda?
Oh, I want to make a motion to amend the agenda. I want to add that to the agenda, the credit card reports. I'd like to have a full discussion on that.
I'll support.
Roll call, please.
Whedon.
Yes.
Bianski.
Yes.
Money.
Yes.
Swem.
Yes.
Dennison.
No.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, we get a motion to approve
We
the
still have
amended
one other
agenda?
one.
You wanna add
I
something?
have one other one. We've got a couple of gentlemen, maybe as many as 3 people. I don't really need to amend the agenda, but I want to make it perfectly clear that we're going to allot them more than 3 minutes of public statements for removal of a silo. I don't know if I need to motion that. Do I need to put that on the agenda?
Do it to motion for the agenda. It would have to be an agenda item. You can't lengthen the public comment.
Also move.
I'll support.
Roll call, please.
Bianski.
Yes.
Money.
Yes.
Swem.
Yes.
That's your point of order. May I ask for clarity? Is it an item of new business, and what is the subject for the minutes?
Well, I talked to you about it on Friday, and I asked Sean about putting it on there Friday, and he told me specifically that he didn't want to make any adjustments to the agenda, but then we got something deleted from the agenda, and we've owned that property for quite a while, and this guy wants to take down at least one of them silos.
Okay, but the question was where on the agenda would you like to put it?
We can put it at, I don't care, you put it at the beginning. They're not here, so we put it at the end.
Let's put it in a new business.
New business is where it belongs.
Where can we put the credit card in the new business too?
Yeah.
Well, no, let's put the credit card in the finance, so that's in the report, please. Where it was originally before something before we were talking about. So that would be item 2. And then. Oh, and then under item 11, we'll put A. Silos. Okay, you want anything else?
No, I'm good.
So we'd like to make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
I'll make said motion.
Thank you, is there support?
Support.
Roll call, please.
Okay, sorry, I gotta clarify real quick. For the second motion to approve adding the new business, I still have Dennison and Whedon to vote still on that one, even though it's gonna kick. Okay,
Mark
okay, sorry. And then agenda, approve the amended money? Or who's
Yes.
making the motion first?
I made a motion.
He made
the motion.
Dan seconded on a different one, okay. All right, now money, sorry.
Yes.
Swem,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Bianski.
Yes.
Carries.
Okay, moving on to public comment. At this time, if you'd like to make a public comment, please make your way to the podium and state your name and address.
Public comment. new zoning code will require an unnecessary investment in time to familiarize themselves with a many-page, complete new zoning code by the citizens using the code, by the city employees enforcing the code, and the general public. And our whole new off-the-shelf code makes it very difficult to identify the substantive changes from the present code. We know that an elimination of single-family residential district is proposed, plus an elimination of the PUD district, and an elimination of the heavy industrial district. I think none of these changes are proper. I find strange that our industrial development director is favoring elimination of some of the zoning classifications that a potential business coming into Buchanan might wish to take advantage of. What we need is a marked up copy of the present zoning code showing proposed changes so the planning commission and the city commission and the general public can know what changes are being suggested and voted upon.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to make a public comment? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to Lori, do we have any, the consent agenda? Can I get someone to make a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
Makes it motion.
Thank you. Is there support?
This is money I'll support.
Thank you. Is there discussion, questions, comments?
I do have one question. I noticed it looks like a recurring expense over 4,500 exemplar now. We have, it says prepaid, what's that mean?
So essentially, we buy their services in advance in an hourly chunk of like a 40-hour chunk, and then they use up the 40 hours, and then we're towards the end, they'll bill us again.
Is that, it looks like that's the second invoice, so is that recurring monthly
Yes,
now?
it's not always monthly, it's only as we use them, so it'll vary. Depends on how many hours of their services we use during a given month, how quickly we use them up.
I have a
I may
question.
have questions on that.
I have a question too. I just want clarity, you know, on these applications. I know it doesn't take very long to authorize them singly, but since they go through a bid process anyhow with an application, and the committee that gives them to us has already authorized them to be on the committees, why do we need to do these as individuals rather than just put them on the consent calendar? Because basically, it's just a formality on our part, so we really don't need to touch base on them individually. And anything that we can do to cut these meetings down to an hour and a half would be helpful.
Okay, that's something I can take into consideration.
Any other comments, questions? Can I roll call, please?
Swam,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Money.
Yes.
Carries.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to reports by departments, starting with Public Safety Report with Chief Harvey Bonner.
This is just to update about December 3rd, we had Shop with a Cow this year. We took about 12 young people from the Buchanan community out to shop with us at Walmart.
city law regarding cannabis. Now, as I've been reporting to you, the cannabis industry is changing. There's legislative changes that have been rolled out. The one I want to talk to you just about tonight is the micro business. And I do have our principals from our one micro business here this evening, Michael and Roy Walpole, who are, I believe, getting ready to open soon. So the essence of what I'm proposing is the state announced a new category called a Class A micro business. Now, in our legislation, when we passed our laws, that didn't exist, so we just had the micro business. There are some small changes to the what the micro business can do related to number of plants. I think it goes from 150 to 300, as well as it takes away some previously approved rights, which were to process, but in hand allows the principals to purchase and purchase other processed goods and for the retail market. The law was, again, really designed for the little guy, and that's really who we have is two gentlemen who are brothers, I believe, that have really been through a lot in the last interesting times with COVID and supply chain issues and labor shortages, but are really ready to open. Now, the changes at the state level were proposed to make the business model more viable. So even though they are increasing number of plants, it's a tiny fraction of what could be moved in a dispensary in Buchanan, what we are seeing moved in a dispensary in Buchanan. And it really is something that, the commission can do to, I think, assist and set up a business to succeed in Buchanan, who's invested a lot of money and a lot of time. So in discussions with you, the commission, I had said I would bring this up for your consideration. Again, it doesn't change anything that the micro business can do. Before they could sell retail, they could sell different products. That doesn't change. It is really just a couple of tweaks that in the state's estimation, they want to see maybe more interest in this concept. And so they're really trying to make it more competitive for the micro businesses, again, the little guy. And in an industry where we're seeing large multinational holding companies buying a lot of cannabis products, I think that it is something worth consideration that we can do for the quote-unquote little guy micro business of Buchanan. So we have proposed the amendments in the law.
Dennison,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Bianski,
No.
Money,
Yes.
Swam. Carries.
Thank you. Okay, moving down to item C, the Main Street Year 2022 Progress Report.
We're just gonna do it.
Randy's here too.
Oh, Randy.
You wanna come up, Randy?
He said if we needed you, you would be here. I'm here.
For a guy who's in front of thousands of people.
Don't worry, I'm
Good evening. I'm bringing up some members of my board who also decided to, the board, who decided to come this evening. I'm sure you're familiar with these spaces in town and know that they're powerhouses in our community, and I'm lucky to be able to be working with them. So I'll try to answer any questions you have, but they're experts too, so they'll answer anything I can, or anything you want to ask them. To just give you an update on what we've been up to, we started last March with our board, and we finished our training, our cohort training in November. So that's been the main focus here, is getting our board together and getting through the training. But because we have such an excellent, energetic group, we've been able to accomplish a lot more. Just to remind you guys what the Main Street approach is, and for those members of the public who aren't familiar, it is integrated with three main components, and it involves basically equipping the community members to be able to give back to their community. So it's a buy-in for community program. This is not just a Michigan program, this is a national program, and in our cohort meetings, they brought in other Main Street communities, and every single one has, well, obviously they're bringing in ones that are half, but every single one talks about it's work, but it's worth it. And I have, even just this process has been so meaningful for me so far, and I think they can attest as well that this has been a good process to go through to learn how to really benefit your community. The benefits of engaging is not only the training, you can also get some additional access to funding and programming, but you get these awesome resources, technical assistance, etc., from the state. So that is why we're engaging, and it is a movement of change makers throughout the nation. If you are familiar, you know there's 4 points: design, economic vitality, promotion, and organization. So we have divided our board into those 4 categories, and I'll start now with some of the progress from design, unless you guys have any questions on the Main Street approach before I get into that. Okay, so design.
Dan's got one. What's up?
Oh, sorry.
What are you doing minutes?
Yes, we have minutes, but we are not officially a 501c3, so we are working on that now.
So prior to that, though, you have to provide your minutes, don't you?
We have them all, yeah.
They don't have to.
We're not
You
required.
don't have to.
No, they're
Okay,
not
well,
We
under.
I have
have them.
several questions, that's why I asked these questions. It's not me.
No,
I
that's
get
fine.
these questions.
Yeah, we have them if there's anything you have questions on, but
Okay.
yeah, okay. So our design subcommittee is full of experts. You guys are familiar with Peter Lisi, who is involved in the Preservation Society, is an archivist, and is, I mean, so familiar with Buchanan history. If any of you had a question about the history of Buchanan, I'm sure the first name that comes to you is Peter Lisi. So
just need motions. Mindy is, recommending both of them. She has one member leaving. Emma has volunteered graciously, and plus to learn more about assessing, so.
Who left?
Margaret
Margaret,
Young, is it Young?
Margaret Young,
Yeah, this is her last, so she's gonna finish out the year, and then she's gonna be done, she said, so.
I'll make that motion. I move to appoint Emma Lizzie to board review.
Thank you, is there support?
this is money I'll support.
Thank you, can you roll call please?
Whedon,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Money,
Yes.
Swem,
Yes.
Dennison.
Yes.
Carries.
So then Jeff Tripley, will be reappointed?
Yes.
Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll move to appoint Jeff Griffin from Board of Review as presented.
Thank you, is there support?
Second.
Thank you, can you roll call please?
Bianski,
Yes.
Money,
Yes.
Swem,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Whedon.
Yes.
Carries.
Okay. Okay, item E, Finance Department report.
Hopefully I can get through this without having another coughing fit. I had emailed all the commissioners a revenue and expenditure report to date and a bank reconciliation for October. I know one commissioner had wanted the funds labeled. Those are all cash accounts listed on the bank rec, but I did also include a list of every fund, which coincides with the cash counts. If you look at the revenue and expenditure report for just the general fund, we're at 40% revenue collected for the year and about 40% expenses as well. And then the other major fund being 501 water and sewer, we're at 52% collected for revenue and 40% on expenses. So we're doing well. The credit card issue, or credit card, not issue, but a agenda item that was moved was to issue 3 more cards. 2 were replacing employees that left and then issuing 1 new card. If that went through, we would have a total of 15 credit cards issued in individuals' names. I am looking to revamp that policy. I don't think we need 15 individual employees with credit cards in their names. We also don't have a current credit card policy nor a current authorization or purchase agreement in place for those. So that's why it was being pulled, so that we can get a policy. And then I would also like to move forward to have corporate cards that can be checked out for if somebody's traveling or whatnot with authorized signers on them. Okay, if that's amenable to you guys. Next thing I wanted to mention is Heather nominated me for the AM Champion program for the asset management. That's what it's called, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I signed up for that. That'll begin in January. And we're collecting winter taxes now. Winter taxes do not bring any revenue for the city, though. It's county millages and the library millage and then special assessments. And that will run through the end of February. And then anything not collected at that time will be turned over as delinquent to the county. Are there any questions?
back and looked, because it was brought up. And we went back to look, and there was no other motion made. There was a special meeting, but it didn't approve any of the amendments.
I think, Patrick, because I was at that meeting with you, even though I wasn't elected.
Yeah.
You had a special meeting, but I don't know as to whether it got ever put on the agenda to change it. It was agreed to strike it.
Yeah, that's,
It was agreed to strike it, but it was never formally motioned and brought through by this body.
that's a little bit concerning. I guess if we could
Yeah, we can look
make
into
sure we
that
get
and
the
then let
proper
you know.
budget, because we've been working off of
I'm on Patrick's side, but I just feel we're in between a rock and a hard spot, and that rock's rolling towards us.
As much as I don't like to say it, Mark's comment is a realistic comment.
No,
I agree, I know you don't agree with it.
Not an option.
It's just something to think about again, for me.
because that
It's open.
junkyard
I see
moving into the
$5
center
million
of town, no.
But the beauty of this situation is that you're one voice, and I do respect that. That's not to be disrespectful.
Yeah,
I get,
I'll be a lot more than one voice, because you want to put that junkyard in the middle of downtown? Because it's a junkyard. It's an old farm. You have all you can't keep it clean, can you, Mike? Not like you would have to keep it clean.
He's doing it
So if we're
right
doing-
He's
now.
cleaning it up. but-
if we take that topic off the table about it being a bunch of farm equipment, the reality is that if we're looking at a cost savings for this city, knowing that we have the school system that also wants to go out to bond, and we already know what we're going to be dealing with downtown, if you want to talk about saving costs, this is the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about, so here we are.
No.
Well, that's fine, your position on that is fine, it's noted.
He could donate it to the city. I might go for it that way.
All right, I've said what I did say, so.
Yeah. Any other comments, questions? Quick roll call, please.
Money?
Yes.
Swab?
No.
Dennison?
Yes.
Whedon?
No.
Bianski?
Oh, do I do a dance now? Yes.
Carries.
I'm going to be squeezing dimes out of turnips though, folks. Everywhere, no excuses.
No, the only thing I have an issue with on that one, Dan, and it's not, and once again, this is not a personal thing. I think that squeezing it out of people who are already running tight is not the way that we're going to save the money. Trying to find better options.
Well, I'm not talking about just the DPW, I'm talking about all of City Hall, everything we do. That's why the credit cards and everything
I mean, I
else.
don't disagree with you. I mean, something's has to give. We have to find ways to cut costs. I mean,
I gave you one. I gave one. It's a big one.
No, no, no.
I mean, to me, that's not a
You
viable
really didn't
option.
give a good option. This has
To
been
me,
a
it's
decision
not
that's
a
been in the
viable
works for
How's that?
7 years,
How's
and
that?
nobody would do nothing
Well,
about it.
the building's not even done, and they want $3 million for it.
That's
I mean,
what
there's
they
a lot
want.
of work that needs to be done to it. The inside's got a dirt floor.
You still got your salt barn on the hill, you got all your equipment, you got that massive
And then we have to
junkyard in
clean
the
up the
middle of
old
town.
site. I mean, so we have to put that on top of it, is my concern. My concern is building it somewhere other than where it is and then having to clean up the old site,
Exactly.
is my,
What do you have to clean up?
That's what I'm curious
Pick up
about.
the trash that's already laying around?
I mean, they've already flattened it.
there's a bunch of stuff there. I mean,
I think that, just, we talk about trash, it's already been kind of insulting as it is, but, I think that's a
If you
standard.
consider trash, my city water pipes that are laying there in case we have a water main break.
No, yeah.
City fire hydrants that are laying there that in case we have an issue, then fine. But the stuff that people dump, I have no control over.
Right.
That's why I am a proponent of fences around my building and through that whole area to keep everyone out of there. We have 3 dumpsters down there.
Yeah.
There you
One
go.
of them goes to the ballpark in the summertime, and they're full all the time. I can't even put my own garbage in there
Yeah,
from here.
Well,
I think that perception
code
universally
enforcement
can
and trail
change.
cams will stop that, but we gotta have somebody that's gonna hand out the tickets when
I
it gets
wasn't
actually
done saying
caught.
what I was saying.
You know, I mean, it's
all
just,
right, hang on.
you know.
Yeah, I think just globally, we can do a good job of making sure that perception goes away. And I think, I don't hear anybody complaining about any of that since you've been up here on Redbud.
Complaining about what?
Trash and it looking like a mess, and I think that's,
Oh.
that shows that it
I'm a
can be done.
proponent of cleaned up. You can
Yeah.
ask the guys.
Yeah.
We go through there and we power wash every time we
Yeah.
do snow. This equipment is the community's equipment.
Right.
I don't pay for it. The
Right.
community pays for it. So to have a dirty truck
Yeah.
is an insult to these people that sit in
Yeah,
this room
I
and to
agree.
make these decisions. So I won't
And
allow it.
So when people talk about it being a mess, I feel like that is something that we can get people to stop saying.
100%.
And I know you guys can do it.
And I am your advocate for that, because we
Good.
have worked really hard to
Yeah.
clean that area up and to move stuff, and yes, there is stuff laying there. I also don't have racks to lay it on so
Right.
that it looks nice.
Yeah,
So,
that would be a
but
good
that
piece.
takes money to
Right.
buy those racks or to build those racks to make it organized and to make it to where it doesn't look like an eyesore, so.
I agree.
But we're working towards that, and if I get some time, we'll find some scrap and we'll build something to get that pipe squared away so it doesn't look like a mess. So that's where we're at. I
I
mean, we
believe
are
you.
really trying to,
Yeah.
I
And
believe
that
right
would
side
be
of
the
this.
problem, my opinion, with this building down here, because Yeah, it's not really That- garbage. It's just
Yeah.
like
It's-
any
it's just
accumulation of
clutter.
equipment and stuff that you
Well,
can't
it's
get rid
another
of.
time.
It's
Please.
just it's not an excuse to me when we say, oh, we can't put things somewhere because we don't feel our people will maintain it appropriately, is what I hear when we say it doesn't look nice, and I don't think that's the truth.
right.
But the fact is, the comment keeps getting made, and we need to change the perception.
Thank you, I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
We do work really hard at keeping our stuff clean and our areas cleaned up, because I don't want the perception of they're dirty or there's stuff laying around everywhere. That's not the way we operate. I don't like weeds growing through my stuff. I'd
Right.
rather have it not in the weeds and on a rack, and so I can weed eat it or spray it or
Yes.
whatever we can do, so.
All right, I'm done.
Then the general updates I have is, the sweeper is still broke down. They're still waiting on parts. We are anticipating snow this weekend, so we're getting our equipment geared back up for that. We'll be running potholes. I know you've seen them pop up everywhere. Our machine was out of service. The battery was dead, so we charged that up today, so it will be out tomorrow. But other than that,
Wasn't there a snow truck?
Did you sweep with something else?
no.
That's where-
So we.
I thought things got swept for some reason.
So we ran our self-contained unit in the gutter pans, trying to make sure that we could clean. We did basically Peyton Park and your portion of the neighborhood, that neighborhood, and it's just beating my machine.
Yeah.
I'm sucking, they're frozen in the gutter pans. Next year, we're gonna have to have a hard date of when we're done picking up leaves, so that we don't have this problem where we have to go out and still pick up the frozen leaves because they're in the street. But I really need a street sweeper to clean the gutter pans. It's so hard on my equipment, and I just spent a bunch of money repairing it, this last summer so that it wasn't broke down for the fall, and we have to beat the hose with a pipe the hose is this big around, and from the dirt and everything, it was that big around. So we had to literally beat the outside of the pipe and break all the dirt out of it that just gets frozen, with that air sucking through there, it just freezes it right to the sides of the machine, so. That's where we're at.
Didn't you say there was a plow truck? Last meeting when we were, Dan and I were not in attendance, there was something with one of the plow trucks.
I just got an email, 15 minutes ago. They're taking it for a test drive, so hopefully I should have it back tomorrow.
Did the rear end froze up or something?
Something exploded in the rear end. I don't know what happened. It went through the front case, and then the rest is history, so.
Cheers.
And that was one of the new ones? Or-
It was my 2018, yep.
That was stored inside, too, I bet.
It is
The,
stored inside.
I have a general question, so that work they're doing on 4th Street, I don't know, is that Lake or Detroit, whatever the street that is? When somebody tears up the street like that.
Yep.
I'm gonna guess they're responsible for patching it, but
Yeah.
how do we hold them accountable to make sure it gets done?
So they have to pull a bond to work in our street that protects us from that exact same instance. In the past, you just go ahead and tear it up and we'll fix it. Well, it was costing us a lot of money to repair the streets, because they would just leave it. And then I have to babysit it all winter long, and obviously they're not making asphalt now. So what we will probably do is go up there and dig it down 6 inches and put cold patch in it for the winter, so that I don't have to keep babysitting it, but I gotta give it a week or so, couple weeks for the traffic.
See,
to
then
beat
we're
it
right
in.
back into where I'm going though. So if they're responsible for it, why are we doing the work?
Yeah.
But I can reclaim that cold patch. It'll be cold patch, so I will reclaim it when we tear it out, when they tear it out to patch it.
Time and material, too, though, or is it just the material?
Just
I was
the
gonna say,
material.
it's still time doing things you shouldn't have to be doing.
Yeah.
That's a concern. I agree.
Yeah. Because it's more than just that one spot. I mean, there's places all over town where people are digging right now.
Yeah, well, there's gonna be a spot up on Main Street, they have a sewer problem up there.
They already
Um,
dug it up, it looked like, right?
They dug up in the tree lawn, now they have
They
to
gotta go on
move
the
to the
street.
street, so. And it's all the way across the street there.
Ah, jeez.
So, yeah.
I got a couple questions, and I had already pretty much told you. The pile of wood, we've got to do something, because public is dumping wood out there. And I mean, I don't have pictures, but I discussed it with you. Somebody's dumping wood out there. And, I mean, you've cleaned it up. I drove around it this weekend. Thanks for getting rid of that oil. Get rid of them damn tires, please. A couple of trailers, I'd like to get rid of the duck barn. That's a $2,000 bill sitting there easy. There's no reason for us to donate it to nobody. We have the Thrill on the Hill barns that we can loan out. Get rid of the duck barn, in your spare time, Mike. But start, and I don't know how you have to work that out with Heather, as far as putting it on Berrien County, what all you have to do. Put it on Berrien County rummage sale and post the price, let her know, let the treasurer know, take the cash in, give it to the treasurer. If there's something special you need to do to get rid of it, just make sure you keep your receipts, keep every track of everything you're selling, and give your receipts and the cash to whoever's supposed to be in charge of it. But get rid of it, And then the garbage cans downtown, I'm specifically asking you did, but I want to be on record. The trash doesn't stop, So, and I know it takes time to empty the trash cans, but we do have a substantial amount of foot traffic now. So, I mean, even though it might take time to empty the trash cans, what are we doing to pick up the rest of the trash when we don't have trash cans?
So, I'll put the trash cans back out, but I can't go down the sidewalks and plow the initial run of plow that we do down the sidewalks as it is right now.
Even if you put them against the wall?
If I put the trash cans out, I can't maneuver through there with the equipment. So that's the main reason, and we didn't have places to put this, there's no places to put the snow if we put the trash cans out with the trees, and, because then you'll have piles of snow around trash cans, and I don't know if you've ever picked up garbage out of those trash cans, but it's really tough when it gets wet, because there's no top on them, so they freeze inside there. And it takes 4+ hours for 2 guys to go through downtown, and it's really expensive. Trash pickup in downtown is immensely expensive, probably $200+ a week in just bags and tape. That's not including manpower and a dumpster and.
For what it's worth, our design group that met with the engineers from kind of New Hoffen, Matt, who does the street design for the streetscape, just had an intensive conversation about this exact issue, trying to make sure that the street, or the sidewalks, are going to be wide enough so that the trash cans can be out there and still have maneuverability to remove the snow. So we're taking that into consideration when we look at what type of trash cans we're getting in placement.
So is there anything we can do about the wood and the private dump?
Like I said, I'm a proponent for fences. Put fences up and
Well,
gates
yeah,
on them
but,
so
I
I
mean,
can get in
besides
and out,
that,
and they can't.
how much do a
That's-
couple trail cams cost, and will we hand out tickets if we get driver's license plates? Will we actually hand out tickets?
I don't have anything to do with
Okay,
that part of it.
I know.
I thought you used to allow people to go dump.
No, it's not a public
Yeah, I
dump.
think back in the day, they were allowed to dump back up on the hill.
To say back on that back
The problem is we will run out of room. We used to get a grinder, a tub grinder, and we used to grind all that up and haul it out to the landfill. We used to own it with the landfill, us, and I believe Coldwater owned it. And it would go between the municipalities, and we would get it and have it for X amount of time, and that was before I even started here. So, but it's since been sold. We owned it when I worked here. It was never here and worked operational here when I've been here.
As a sign guy, can we just put up a sign that says no dumping for now, just as a good start? I mean,
Yeah, I can. There is signs up there that say no dumping. There is,
I thought I saw some.
yeah. Yeah. It's just like the dumpsters. If we put a dumpster out anywhere, it'll be full and we won't have any room to put our garbage. That's how
How
it
many are
goes.
we renting right now?
So we have, I think, 4 dumpsters that the city rents all year long. We have one that is goes to the BYSBA in the summertime. There's 2 generally at the street department site, and then there's 1 at the dog park.
And you said they knocked the locks off of them too? Even if you
Yeah,
lock
we
them
used
up?
to have the ones that had the things that locked over the top, and they would rip it off, or rip the doors off getting in them, or throwing their stuff. Or, the best part is they would just pull up and unload their car right in front of the dumpsters and drive away.
What about the ones at the cemetery? Those
Oh,
are-
there's 2 small dumpsters at the cemetery.
Yeah. That
I
are
forgot
usually-
about
Do
those.
they get
And there's
filled up
1 at the
too?
wastewater.
They
Oh, yeah,
They get filled up with
yep,
non-cemetery
I know,
stuff.
that's what I meant.
yep.
So, what's the timeline on the sweeper? I mean, when are we just gonna wait for them to hopefully find parts? What's the plan there? Do we have a plan?
Unless you tell me I can go out for bid for a new one, I mean, they're $300,000.
Do you have to sweep a certain number of times or
I
something?
have
Like,
to
how are we
sweep.
gonna do that?
So if we don't have a sure deadline on a sweeper, we're gonna have to rent one next year. We're gonna have to get on a list and get one rented, and hopefully in the amount of time that I can get one here, I can make my 4 times through the city.
I'd say get on that list,
That's
so
what I was
we
just gonna
figure
say.
out when we're getting this thing
Yeah.
fixed.
What about borrowing from other communities?
We went down that.
Yeah, he tried that
trail
one.
already,
Yeah.
Actually.
They weren't willing to do it.
No one alone,
Or
they're using it.
it was an exceptional cost, right? That was,
Now it just has
Yeah,
one
it was like
in there.
$90 for the machine, and I can't remember how much for an operator, but they wouldn't even just rent us the machine.
Yeah, and they wanted their operator to
Yep.
run it.
And I don't
because it was
blame 'em.
their
I mean-
vehicle.
No, not at all.
That was per hour?
We
Yeah.
went through it, we just,
Okay,
it was a thought.
sorry for stretching.
So
it out here.
but there are rentals that you can do if we get to that point.
We definitely have to get on a list, like
Yeah.
ASAP, because they are rented out.
But the new one's
Yeah.
280, 300,000, so.
After the first of the year, we're expecting well over 10% increases on all that stuff, so it was 278,000. I do have some information on, purchasing like a lease purchase option where we can pay a payment for X amount. I know we're not fans of that, and I'm
Yeah.
not a proponent of that either,
Municipalities
but
shouldn't do that.
in order to get one.
Can you bring us all the numbers the next meeting? Or
Yeah,
you don't have to bring them to us, get them to us?
yeah, I'll put them
So we
on
can
the,
start looking
I'll
at
put
some of
them on the
these numbers?
municipal code thing.
Because we just spent $5 million.
Haven't yet.
Well,
We
we haven't yet.
We just authorized to spend $5 million, whatever way you want to cut it.
So, that's what I have. Anything else?
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks. Okay, going down to unfinished business. I don't know if you want to talk about these boards real quick?
Wait,
and-
did we have?
We have new
those
business
silos?
after.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
they
I'm
got
on the
new
wrong
business.
line, I'm sorry. Yep, my apologies.
Yes, I can mention, so there was a request to consider if we were gonna create new boards, what boards I would recommend. So I made a list of the ones that were either referenced in our own city charter or utilized by other communities or municipal groups such as the landfill board that seem to be beneficial. So initially those were listed, they were postponed 2 meetings now for discussion. And since that time, I've received feedback from some of the commissioners that led me to believe that I do not think that the creation of these boards is necessary. However, if they are created, we would definitely make as much use of them as possible, make them very effective, so.
So I do think we need the audit and finance committee. In our audit, we agreed to that with Krugel Lawton, that we were gonna do that.
But why do we need to, I mean, why can't we just have a work session with them? Why do we have to have a continuous committee of volunteering more of our time to sit on committees when all we gotta do is meet with them? I mean, you're on
Because
top of
they-
it, you're gonna want every nitpicking thing from them, rightly so, because
Yeah,
you're the
I
one that
think
can read
it's-
it all.
I think it's important that we're all looking at that document. But, I think we could hash a lot of that conversation out in a more, less confrontational dialogue with the treasurer, myself. I mean, I'd ask.
It's all
Leon.
documented.
Yeah, it's all documented, and again, they found a material, weakness within our financials last year that we're working to correct. and the expectation is that we follow through with what we said we were going to do. And if in a year we decide that we need to disband it because we're in a position we want to be in, then so be it. But right now, that's not the case, and we do need to be paying attention to it. I think we heard tonight we, had a misstep internally where we didn't approve a budget amendment. I think there's enough of a reason right there, that we need to be on top of it a little better up here on what we're paying attention to.
I don't think another committee is gonna help you pay attention to it at all, but that's just my personal opinion. That's just another group of people sitting around talking about doing the work when the work's not getting done. I mean, you got a city manager and a mayor and the commissioners that were there, and you got a Robert's rules. If you wanna ask the questions, you're more than welcome. She'll talk to you anytime she wants to, and I'm not gonna volunteer. You're not gonna volunteer me for any more committees. I was gone last week because the Republican Party's going nuts in the state. Just ask Mark. And I'm going to attend them meetings. And I'm going to be down here because I think it's very instrumental for the city of Buchanan. Not because it's Republican, but because it's our politics, half of our politics.
Does somebody want to make a motion? Either way?
Who
Do you
else?
want to make a motion for the creation of the finance board?
Yeah, well, I want to talk about let's just figure out who the two, I would like to have two city commissioners on alternate terms on that board for continuity reasons. So who else would like to be on it, and I'll make the motion.
Well, then I'll move to take no action on all items of unfinished business and create no new boards at this time.
There's a motion. Is there support? Not hearing any support. So that motion failed.
Would any of you, I guess it's not, Dan says he's not interested, would either of you sit on it with me? I don't think it's going to be a massive obligation.
I'll sit on it with you.
All right, I'll make the motion to institute a finance and audit committee made up of myself, Mark, Heather, and Deb. Do you want anybody else?
No, I think that's appropriate.
Yeah, me too. I don't
Is there
see what
support?
I'll support.
Any roll call?
Bub,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Bianski,
Nope.
Money,
Yes.
carried.
Okay, now we can move on to new business, the discussion of the silos.
I don't even know if Mario's here.
He is here.
There he is. He's sitting right there.
Do you mind making your way to the podium and explain what you'd like to do there?
Is Fran here?
Yeah, it's right there.
Okay.
No, Fran to it.
Oh.
No, that Fran's here. As I say.
Okay, my name is Mario Palmisano, and I'm representing South Bend Chocolate Company. We're building a huge complex out by the airport off of the bypass and 20 intersection there. We were looking at using a couple of the silos that have the dome tops because we want to create a golden dome look to our outside bar, and also we have a Notre Dame overlook that we're putting in on top of the mount there that has a clear vision of the dome, and we want to put a picnic area up there using one of those for that too. Basically, I came last week thinking that this was going to be on the agenda, so I'm just looking to see what you guys' plan was to do with the project there. Ultimately, we're willing to take the thing down at our expense. We've got equipment, we've got manpower to do that. And I also have a source, if you're wanting to get everything out of there, I've got a couple different sources, scrap yards that will take everything out at their expense too, if you're so inclined for that. So that's basically where
I think
we're standing.
there's some discussion, and there's another business in town that was interested in one of the silos. But I'm sure we could work with them on figuring out how to do all this.
That was part of the reason, I'm sorry.
No,
That was part of the reason why I agreed with Dan, and I realized that may not have been the ideal thing that maybe everybody wasn't prepared for, but I believe there's an opportunity for everybody to win in this situation, including the original request so that we don't step on any toes and disrespect the people who've already put the request in. So, and I appreciate you bringing this to the table. I think it's a huge opportunity for
Well,
Buchanan.
I brought this up with Rich Murphy about 2 years ago, actually.
Okay.
And back then, we were actually considering turning the mill into a country western bar restaurant at the time, and we didn't get no feedback back, and then pandemic hit and everything kind of went
Opportunity's
south.
still there.
Yeah.
And so then I got a hold of Heather, I guess, and she had me put on a list with Brittany for whenever you all decided on what you were going to do with it, basically, to get back with us. So that's where it was left until I heard you were having it was supposed to be on the agenda, they said, last week. So that's why I came last week. But
Well, we appreciate you
Planning
showing up.
Commission, I think.
It was a joint meeting.
Oh, that was that
He
one.
showed
We
up
were
at the
talking
joint
about
meeting, and I
the
went and
Yeah.
introduced
code.
myself to him,
Yeah.
and he actually called me on Friday, because I gave him my phone number, and that's why I wanted it on the agenda. How long have we owned that property? 3 years, 2.5 years? And the fact that you told me you wanted to open a bar in there just kind of, take a breath, Dan, take a breath. Mario, do you just want 2 of the silos, or
yeah, that's all we actually need out of the thing is the 2
is there
silos.
4 of them out there? Because I went out and
There's-
counted, the one on the far end is not really something that you're gonna be able to salvage.
There's probably 4 of the silos, and then the rest are the grain bins.
Okay,
And then, of course, the elevator shafts and everything else. And then on the other side, you've got all the other grain equipment.
right, they got all that equipment on the buildings and stuff,
Right.
yeah. The buildings, that's a separate entity altogether, but man, if we could get rid of that stuff.
And Sean, this plays right into what we've had discussions on since we purchased that property. This is an opportunity for us to lower cost and get something that,
Yeah, I think if you could hang around after the meeting and we can get your contact information, what I'd like to do is set up a meeting with you and Fran, who owns River St. Joe. I know there was some interest from them on one of the silos, and maybe we can figure out how to get this done.
Well, now, does your construction group, they can obtain all the permits and everything that's going to be required
That
to
was my next one.
take that down next to the railroad tracks? Because, you know, that's all special permitting, I do
Yeah.
believe. I still
I mean,
think that's all in effect.
that's what we were told, that you had to have
Yeah.
special permits for working along those railroad tracks to get the silos
Yeah.
down.
Well, we'll have to look
We'll
into
have to-
that.
Yeah.
So that's why I say I was just bringing it up, because I didn't know where you guys were
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
whole
No,
project.
we
Absolutely.
want to get that site cleaned.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Like I say, Earl Maxwell out of Eau Claire area, Berrien Center, he's interested in the whole thing. He's willing to take everything. He's got several people looking for the grain bins to make
Great.
gazebos and whatnot out of them, so.
Yeah, if you don't mind sticking around for just a minute afterwards, I'd like to get all your information. and-
Sure enough.
All right, I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it, thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Mario, thank you very much.
Thanks for bringing it up, Dan.
Okay, moving down to communications. Go Gov.
So we are not yet pushing for a widespread launch, because what we're trying to do, if you're familiar with when a restaurant opens, they do sort of a soft open. We anticipate and expect and actually hope that citizens will slowly start to implement this new app that we've created called GoGov, and that as they start to use it slowly, give us feedback so that we can tweak it, modify it, and improve it. Once we've gone through that sort of soft launch phase, we'll come back with a more comprehensive push. So tonight, though, I want to share with you guys here in this room, and again, it's not that it's a secret, you can tell folks to try it, we're just not going to purposefully market it until we work out the kinks. If you have, you know, either an Apple or Android, you go into the App Store or the Google Play Store, what you would search for is called My Buchanan Go. And if you search for My Buchanan Go, there's an app that's got our little picture in the back there, our General City logo, you'll recognize it. And if you install that on your phone, there are many opportunities to utilize that app for things that we hope and expect residents might find helpful. For instance, you can look up any city ordinances, you can look up things on the city website, you can pay your water sewer bills through the app, you can report certain code violations and various different issues. You can put in different requests to City Hall, so there's a lot of different functionality to it. Eventually, we're hoping to also use it to push out content for notifications for emergencies and also for calendaring. But again, it's a soft launch at this stage. We're still trying to figure out exactly what and which way it can best serve Buchanan. So please do give us feedback if you get a chance to look at it. We encourage you to explore it and give us your thoughts.
That's great. Thank you.
Do we have any other websites, or do we have any other, I thought Randy, is Randy still here? Didn't we launch one? So we had one out there, right? Or we still, it's just kind of wandering around out there in internet space, or what happens to it? I mean, I'm just curious, because I thought, you know.
The old Buchanan app,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
it just kind of petered out, didn't it? I don't know that it,
I can elaborate if you want me to.
Well, I'm just curious as to, since we had one and it didn't really do anything, you know, when I went to the library and the auction was all online, and I've got a 100-year-old phone, you know, it was, I don't know how much it gets used. I mean, I know two of these guys are, well, all of these guys are pretty and I'm the dinosaur. But I'm just trying to figure out, I'm not trying to be negative on this, Heather.
Yeah, no,
I
I'm
just
familiar with the
just
fact.
don't know how much time.
I mean, and Randy can probably answer this, but I don't think the old one was user-friendly or really interactive, was it? It was more informational.
It was more informational. The app was designed to get everything you can related in one place, because we couldn't accomplish that through websites at the time. Plus, it gave you the ability to do geofencing, which was interactive. So if we take you down the trail and identify from this one trail, we give history and information on that. And there was plans to phase in more and more and more with it, but I hate to throw myself under the bus, but when I left the chamber, the steam behind that kind of dissolved. There was a lot of maintenance to it. So if you're going to pay a developer to do that, great. If you're going to try to do it internally, it will fail almost every time. So
Okay.
that's
Thank you,
my-
Randy.
Good to know. All right. Okay, we're going to move on to public comment on non-agenda items. If you'd like to make a public comment, please make your way to the podium and state your name for the minutes.
Hello, my name is William Haas. Some of you guys may know me, some of you might not. I'm the gentleman that came in here and started the cannabis ordinances, helped Buchanan build the cannabis ordinances, was a big part of Redbud Roots. I separated from Redbud Roots and ended up in Niles. I bought a building there that was vacated. We put $3 million into that building now. We now have a substantial grow over there and a processing lab that's getting ready to open. We work very hard with the community. We build Niles Neighbors over there, me and my business partner. And between me and my business partner, we still own a little over 80% of this company. We are self-funded. We come from all of our investors, besides me and my partner, we're all local guys. We all come from the communities around here. And I know that there was a 6th license at one time. And I don't know of anybody that has done more for this community in the cannabis industry than myself, including Redbud Roots. A lot of this wouldn't be here, a lot of the people wouldn't be here if I hadn't came in and did what I did. There wasn't micro businesses at the time, so we went the route that we did, but I would like to be offered the same opportunity that Redbud Roots was. I would like to be offered to be able to put a retail in the industrial park. And I know that a lot of people are against retail, but most of them is because of the traffic downtown, which I frowned upon right from the beginning. I told them all right from the beginning, one should be permitted downtown. And now we have traffic problems that I still get the phone calls from. They still call me because I started this. So I still hear about it. But I would still like to have those opportunities. And I understand that there's things in play that it may or may not happen. But if not, there's also been some misguidance here today. The Class A is a separate license. That is not an extension to the original micro license. The micro license A is another license. And if that's going to be allowed to be on, then we need to redo the ordinance to allow for another type of license in there. And if I'm not allowed to have a retail, I would like to be allowed to have a micro A on the west side. So I'd like the city to consider this and moving forward. I'd like to put more money into Buchanan and finish what I started here. I love this community. I was born here. My family's from here. And I'd like to continue to do business. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to make a comment?
Hello, Kelly Lesh. I'm just here to say something positive. The downtown after the Christmas parade, I just wanted to let you know that, one, it was beautiful and good job to everybody, but two, the trash cans were overflowing, and I wanted to give kudos to the parks, or not parks, sorry, to the
DPW.
DPW for early morning. They were emptying all the trash cans that next morning, and I was in shock, but also very impressed that they were down there because they were all overflowing. And since it was already brought up in the meeting, possibly bigger size trash cans with maybe some covers on them might be a way to go from there. But I also wanted to just make sure that I gave kudos to Mike Baker, who is always readily available when there are incidents, not only personal, when I've had incidents, but when I work for the Berrien County Sheriff's Department. There was a manhole cover that flew off, and he immediately came out to the scene. But he was very professional for the city, and another car hit it and struck it. And he said, you know, if they need anything, they need to go to the city, give them their name. And then, so I talked to them and said, if you have anything, I gave them exactly what Mike told me. I'm sure being friends isn't always a joy to have your number where you can be called, but he is always on call, hard worker, and always professional, and takes care of stuff immediately. So I just wanted to give kudos to the DPW for their hard work, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So, thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Anyone else wish to make a public comment? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to city manager comment.
So it was mentioned in the finance department report that I had recommended for our treasurer, Doug Perez, to join the Asset Management Champions Program. Some of you may have heard me speak about this very briefly before, but I wanted to touch on it. I just finished my own training. It's about a 3.5-month long program. It's very intensive. There's a little over 40 hours worth of online modules that you have to do, as well as, I think it was 6 interactive facilitated Zoom meetings, actually Microsoft Teams, plus 2 in-person meetings in Lansing. So there's a lot to this. But the real reason that we want to discuss it, or that I wanted to discuss it this evening, is to impress upon the community the importance of this endeavor, and the fact that it's going to be very intensive time-wise for staff, but in the end, it has huge dividends. And so just to touch on some of the points that the program really hits home, essentially what they're asking us to do is inventory every foot, every yard of infrastructure throughout this entire community. And if you can imagine the thousands of miles of water and sewer, including storm sewer pipe, in addition to streets, sidewalks. They want us to inventory every single publicly owned building. They want us to inventory absolutely everything that we have, every playground structure. Put with that a cost associated with the replacement cost and life expectancy. Add to it any known factors, like have you inspected it and you knew there was vandalism at this site? Have you inspected, you've been potholing and you knew that there's a lead service line that needs replacement? So it's extremely complicated, will ultimately result in literally millions of data inputs by staff. They estimate that it will probably take approximately 5 years to fully complete. But in the end, once you do that, it creates a system. And that system allows you to have extremely accurate budgeting forecasts, both short-term and long-term. And it really allows the citizens of Buchanan to have their elected representatives make the most well-informed decisions for the future of Buchanan for multiple generations to come. It's a system that's a living, breathing document and system that's constantly updated and evolving. And I'm looking forward to bringing that to the community. And I did want to share that I am now living certified in that program. There's a very small handful of folks certified in it, but I'm excited to bring that. So you'll probably hear me discussing that over the next several years.
Cool.
That SAW report put a good dent in that for us.
It definitely helps, but all of that information is, there's 2 different types of data points. One is an estimate, and those are just simply estimated points, and others are based on, we've actually looked at and physically inspected, and really for it to be as accurate as possible, most of those data points have to be reassessed, not just because of the time that's gone by and inflation, but also just to do actual physical inspections wherever possible. But yes, it definitely has a huge starting point to us that other communities don't have. And for those unfamiliar, SAW was a grant program from several years ago that allowed engineering firms to come in, take data that was known, for instance, the year an area was platted, the year infrastructure was noted to have been placed in there, and then project forward how long that infrastructure is likely to last, how old they think it is. So we're talking about doing as much physical inspection as possible to get truly accurate data to make really well-informed decisions.
Love it.
Great. Are you planning on having anyone else do it, or just the treasurer?
Yes, actually, there were 3 different members of the team that I had recommended, because that's part of the program, is they want you to recommend other folks, and they encourage you to recommend folks from inside your team. You, actually, Mayor and Patrick, I put you guys on the list, as well as Director Baker, and, gosh, I feel like one other person, I think it might have been Director Murphy.
Good. Commissioner Whedon?
Thank you. First and foremost, I'd just like to say thank you for everybody here who brought a presentation to the table. I know that we put a lot of pressure, Mike, you in particular. I want to commend you for bringing answers, and I think when you were first in it, it was quite a different thing for you to have to be the one at the forefront of the DPW and give presentations. But I think now you understand the expectations, and you bring answers, and not just, well, we need it. I think you bring justifiable reasons for the actions you're taking out there, so I appreciate that. Ashley, professional job. I think you explained the Main Street program exceptionally well. I know that there's always a lot of questions about what that is and the validity of it and what the necessity of it is, and I think that it's gonna prove itself in the end with the work that you've already done. Rich, thank you so much for bringing that micro-business and that attention to detail about what that is and the changes that have come with it. Shop of the Cop, you guys always knock it out of the park. There's no question. I'd like to say thanks to Joe and Tom for having the kids down and letting them enjoy that beauty that is the sweet shop. They have done such an exceptional job, and it was really very cool to see Sean down there and the officers and see the kids and the smiles and riding in the back of the car. So thank you very much for that. Recount is tomorrow. I wish the best of luck to Monroe. I realize it's not just necessarily directed at me, but we are within one vote. So this could be my last meeting. It may not be. But if it is, thank you for the 4+ years. Was it about a month?
4 years and 2 weeks.
Yeah, something like that. If it's not, well, then I'll see you in 2 weeks. But Monroe, I wish you the best of luck with the recount. And that's part of the process, right? This is the way it works. So thank you very much. Tomorrow, Tuesday, 10 a.m. I'm not trying to
That's
plug
funny,
it
but I
in.
can see Cal and Christine. Every time you say recount, I see her. It's like a needle.
Oh, is it 9? It'll be over by 10.
To be over by 10, yeah.
I went to the
We're
cemetery. and
confident
did
that the
some-
numbers are going to come back the same, and you're going to be proven to be very, very good at what you do.
I went to the cemetery on the 9th.
I agree. Yep. Good.
Mr. Spum?
I think I've said probably enough tonight. Just thanks to my peers for good discussion. Looking forward to next meeting.
Mr. Bianski?
There was all kinds of stuff I wanted to say. Okay, the library, Sean was there. They made their quota or whatever, they reached their plateau.
Fundraising goal?
Yeah, their goals by 7 o'clock. Usually I give them some money. I made out a check. I just gave them the money because I couldn't figure out the stupid internet thing, and my phone is 100 years old. So I just give them a check rather than buying a bag of stuff. Mark and I, and again, I want to touch on this, and it's not because of my party affiliation. It's really changing, and I've learned a lot by going and watching these guys. Our elected state senator actually got into it well, not physically, but very verbally, and there was definitely feelings hurt. There was definitely tempers. We had one physical altercation in the hallway, so I loved it. But we changed the leadership completely over in the Republican Party for Berrien County. We have 150+ delegates now. If anybody's interested, they still have room for 100 delegates throughout the county. And I know this is on the Republican side, but the Democrats, I'm sure, is the same thing. And I don't do this very often. It's just I got involved in this because I wanted to get educated so I could bring this education down here as far as Robert's rules and how the conduct of the meetings. and I learned how not to do it.
We know.
Yeah, I learned how not to do it. If you'd have been there Saturday, I'm a nice guy.
I will say that Dan has conducted himself far better than I've ever seen it, so if
It was
any, things
better
can
than
change.
HBO. It was
Yeah.
way better than HBO.
I would agree.
And that's our brand-new senator. He's not even in office yet. And Denny Gross has been in office for 14 years, and he acted like a sorry 2-year-old. I want to say that publicly. He acted worse than any 2-year-old. So, and so did our county clerk. So that's all the comments I'm going to make.
Mr. Money?
I don't know how you follow
I
that,
follow
though.
that, Mr. Money.
Yeah. Well, I'll step up where Mark started here. Ashley, thanks for a great introduction. Mike, you know, you've improved and you do a great job. I got to go over here because this Shop with the Cop program, you know, is one of the best. It was started years ago by a couple people that, you know, up on the top of the hill at an organization I belong to, and it's expanded from there. But it does what it's supposed to do. It helps the people within the city of Buchanan, and it takes those, I want to say underprivileged, but that may not always be the right answer or right way to phrase it, but it's just a great program, and thank you to everybody who participated. The Warpols and Mr. Palmisano, thank you for being here, you know, and showing the interest in Buchanan and willing to help us out and make the businesses good. The gentleman back there, I apologize, I didn't get your name, but as I always do, I always want to say, you know, kudos to this commission because, you know, these guys, they do their homework. And they're working to make this city a better place to be, a better place to live. You know, they're working their hardest, you know, for the citizens here. We don't always see eye to eye up here, but it's a great privilege for me to be able to sit with such a fine group of, well, I'll say gentlemen, maybe, and then roll down here to Dan. But,
I was wondering if there was a pause in there.
I've been taking it for 67 years. I haven't been different for 67 years.
Want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, you know, because that's what I do. And so we'll hope to see you all here on the 26th. Once again, thank you to all. That was my other choice, the 27th.
Always ready to recover. Yeah, always ready to recover.
Thank you.
I just want to thank everybody for coming. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come to these meetings. It means a lot. And I thank my fellow commissioners. And I want to wish the staff good health.
Yeah.
Yeah. A mess.
Not only a Merry Christmas, but good
Feeling better
health.
soon.
Yeah.
With that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make said motion.
Thank you. Is there
And
support?
I'll support it.
There you go.
right.
Started a new one.
Dennison,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Money,
Yes.
Webb.
Yes.
Where's that?
You're adjourned.
Before you run off, that cop that we hired, is that funded for 1 year?
Well, that's something he's gonna have to
We,
get to the bottom of.
we need to discuss that.
Did you authorize that?
It's news, no.
And I got hopelessly confused.
He'll get to the bottom of
Where's
it.
Mario?
We do one other thing.
Sean, 2 hours, 2 hours.
Tell me if I can write, if I understood.
You keep bringing